he got in a van with his buddies and they spent a weekend at this compound up north. And Dad and two of his buddies left, and one never did.
The Three RoOs podcast. All right, welcome to episode 13 of the Three RoOs podcast. You're looking at me. I'm Seth. We have Tyler on the call tonight. Rich is not going to be with us because Rich forgot what day of the week it was. So we will give him a hard time for that later. Tonight's guest is going to be one of my personal favorite guests. She is my sister, so she has known me for longer than anybody, which is a scary fact of life. That's her. That's Maggie. Maggie and I have had, as any siblings have, up and downs in our lives, from ignoring each other to physical altercations. I'm pretty sure there's still a hole in a wall at my mom's house. That's a long story. To nowadays,
Not that long. You lost.
Yeah, okay, fair. To nowadays where we will send each other random news articles and things of that sort. So without further ado, Maggie, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I lead a really boring life. I just changed jobs after a bazillion years at one place. I have two dogs, a husband. Unfortunately, I've known Seth for a zillion years. 25 always, though, right? Seth, just 25.
Always.
It's been 25 years that Seth's been 25. So,
for the record, I am not 50. For those
you're 50 years old.
For those doing that,
Dang it.
We can cut that. That's fine. Continue.
I don't think we're gonna.
I'm beginning to wonder. I'm beginning to wonder who gets editorial rights here, but so yeah, I mean that's really just about it. Like I said, we have two dogs now. Oh, guys, I'm now going to be a volunteer dog walker at the local humane society. I'm very excited about that. Yeah, that's about it.
Right.
I really don't need it. Yeah, more will come out as time comes. You'll learn more as we go.
Listen, right. I think that personally you do live a pretty interesting life, but that's just me. So anyway, volunteer dog walking, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that yeah, that's first question.
So well, two things. If ever anyone asked me what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, I would say if I could make like my current salary but just walk dogs, I would. But also I've wanted to be like a dog walker or a volunteer in an animal shelter for a really long time. But until recently, I had a work schedule that just sucked. So I wasn't ever able to have that time. But now I work from home, a nice cushy Monday through Friday. And so I'll have plenty of time to walk the pups. I'm really excited.
We all love
it's a process though. Like I had to interview guys and now I have to go to like an orientation. I had to learn how to clean a kennel out. Like it's a process. They definitely weed people out, but I'm in it for the long haul, guys.
So you're walking the dog at shelters or at a shelter?
Yeah. So you can do it for however long you want. You have to do like a minimum of 6 hours a month, but you go and they have like, so it's Helping Hounds. Neither of you are local. Seth, you might remember them.
Yeah.
But so they take a lot of dogs from down south, actually, or dogs that get like displaced from natural disasters, things like that. And then they have a bunch of dogs. I don't know how many, but at least probably 30, 40, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Like that's sad that they don't have homes. And then the dogs need exercise and socialization and stuff like that. So you get to go and play with some dogs and walk them around. And yeah, I'm just excited. They have little ones and big ones. And it's like the next best thing. If I could adopt every dog there, I would, but I don't have the financial means or the space to do that. So it's like the next best thing.
It's like a dream world.
Yeah. Seth, you jealous?
I mean, I'm a little bit jealous, but I get to hang out with dogs. I have plenty of dogs who can hang out with me anytime I want. So volunteer
dog on the phone, like
yeah, we FaceTime regularly. Duh. Volunteer dog walking. I'm guessing that comes with your nice, newer, cushier Monday through Friday hours and not your old job of hecticness, yeah?
Yeah, so
So, what
uh
was what was one of your driving forces for getting out of your old job? If you don't mind talking
Ooh,
about
sounds
it.
good. Sounds good.
yeah, so I'll talk about it. I mean, I'll leave this as a if you know, you know, right? I'll drop some hints about where I used to work, but I'm not going to actually say the verbiage or the name of where I worked. But I was in a telecommunication company, and it was a retail location. So I was a store manager. My store was 40 minutes on a good day for a commute from my house one way. And I counted as a head count, even though I was like the manager, right? So you, you have to have at least three people working and able in order to open the store for the day. In a
Hmm.
perfect world, you'd have like six people working at least. Um, but so like if I had too many call outs or whatever and I was down to two people, the expectation is like I would go into work. Um, I would have days off and because it's retail, right? So most of the time I'm working the weekend. So I'd have like a Tuesday or a Thursday off, which is cool because my husband works retail too. And it just became this expectation that like you're salaried, so you're always on. So like I'd be off, I'd be at a brewery in the middle of the afternoon, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon on my day off, and I'd get a call like, "Hey, I need you to hop on this conference call."
Oh,
I'm like, "Bro,
yeah, well, that's
like it's
rough.
my day off," and they're like, "It's an hour. You'll be fine." I'm like, "Yeah, but like I'm at the brewery."
Yeah, like what the fuck?
Like I'm 3 beers in, and so it was just one of those things where I'd start feeling guilty about like I can't go out because there's this conference call I have to get on, or like an hour conference call in that world is never an hour conference call. The call itself is an hour, but you usually have to come on with your numbers ready, and so like you have to research your numbers. And for the most part, like if you're a good manager, you know about where you stand. But the other toxic thing about where it was working was like depending on whoever was running the call, like if it was my director or whatever, knowing your about numbers was never good enough. Like you needed to know like what was your numbers, where are you at currently, what's your deficit to get here, what's the plan to get there, and you had to always avoid words like we're going to, right? Because then their immediate comeback is why aren't you doing it right now? Like I don't know, because last week this wasn't a fucking problem.
Because you're just
So it was
picking on me
just,
for this now. Like what the hell?
yeah, it was just a constant, like I always had to be on, I always had to be available. My phone rang off the hook. I would take a conference call like from my deck on my day off, and it's a video call. So like you could see I'm outside at my deck. I'm clearly not in the office. And my boss would just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna call you after the call." And then she'd spend an hour talking to me after the call about work. And I'm like, it's my fucking day off.
Mm.
Um, so that, kind of piles up over time, right? The money was so good, like so good though. um, but it just started to like not really feel like that. I started realizing like I wasn't really myself, and like just little things would like send me into a full on like bitch raid. Like I was just mean. And I mean, Seth might judge this, but like I don't think I'm normally a mean person. I definitely can be bitchy, and I'm definitely like a pit bull, and like when I need you or want you to do something, like I'll sink my teeth in. But um I just felt mean. And so I was so stressed out and so upset and so just like hindsight being 2020, completely depleted. Like reserves were not there. There was no concept of like digging deeper, but that's always the answer you got. It's like you just got to dig deeper. You're not at 150%, you just got to dig deeper. So like you dig and you dig and you dig, but like when there's nothing there, there's nothing there. So I am not someone, and Seth might be able to attest to this, but it's kind of Seth, you care about your last name? We can cut that part, right?
No, you're
Okay.
fine. My last name's right there.
It's kind of like a filio trait where like we don't really ask for help. So if I'm asking for help and I'm showing that vulnerability side, to me, I'm like at my wits' end. Like I've done everything imaginable. I've laid out all my resources, and I just like I need help. So I ask my boss, I say, "Hey, I just like really need your help. I'm feeling super inadequate in my role right now. Like it doesn't seem to be like no matter what I do, I can't get this one assistant manager on board. I feel like I'm working 7 days a week. I'm running my wheels. I'm like, I'm just not getting anywhere. And I need help. And her response, keep in mind, this is after me trying to get a hold of her for 3 days on the phone, was, and I quote, a GM of your tenure should be able to figure this out. So I said, cool, cool. I figured it out. I took a 30-day mental health leave. And if you are ever in a toxic fucking workplace and your workplace offers you short-term disability for mental health purposes, fucking take it.
Wow.
It was the best thing I could have ever done. So I was paid 100%. Thank you, short-term disability. I'm a big proponent. Mental health is health, like it is medical, it is whatever. And I just, the first 2 weeks I was still like so tightly wound like a spring, and then by week 3 I was like, okay, I can do this. I was like putting my applications out there. I called a friend who was in a different thing, a different job. She and I had worked together, so like she knew how toxic this place was. And took an interview, didn't know if I'd take the job. I now work for workers' compensation, which is not the cell phone world. It's not retail. It's sort of still customer service, but yeah. So I've never been, I don't want to say I've never been happier. I'm sure, like, you know, the day I got married and whatnot, I was happier, but like
Right.
We'll make sure to let your husband know that. Don't worry.
Thanks, put that in there for me. But yeah, I have time to like do what I can do and do what I want to do. Like, I didn't realize until I took that 30 days off that how toxic of a place I was in. Like, I joked when I left, I was like, I'm leaving the cult, and like it really has some cult like behavior there. And I think that's just like corporate America in general. I think sometimes you have to have some of that in order to like, you know, move people, move numbers. It's a sales job, you know.
Right.
But I didn't realize until I was out that like we went to a block party downtown and I had so much fun. And I was like, oh my God, is this what fun is? Like, I hadn't been doing that. I hadn't been feeding my soul and like giving myself the stuff that like fills that reserve back up, because every day I woke up and it was like 6:30, the calls and the texts start, and then they go until 9 o'clock at night every single day. Like, it was just, so yeah. So I don't know, 2 weeks ago we went to a show. Tomorrow, today's Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Don't tell Rich, but
well, Rich isn't sure yet.
Poor Rich. Friday we're going to a show. It's called Biggie is Dead. It is the Grateful Dead and Notorious B.I.G. mashup. So
what?
yeah,
Oh, that
I'm not
sounds
really
awesome.
sure. Yeah, I'm
it actually does
hoping that
sound
it's
like a lot
like,
of fun.
right. I'm hoping it's like cool vibe melody with the Biggie lyrics. We'll see how it goes. But
Right.
yeah,
What if it's
I can do
Biggie?
it because it's at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock on a Saturday. I'm not going to be at work. It's great.
What if it's Biggie vibe melodies with like Grateful Dead lyrics, and people are just there with their guns strapped on them and like?
That'd be
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time I was in a situation in which that was definitely not my element, but
You
I
lived
think
on the
we'd make
west
the
side for
most of
long
it.
enough. You were fine. You were fine.
Gunshots or fireworks. Gunshots or fireworks.
That's a big deal. So, all in all, moving on from the toxic work environment is like the greatest feeling in the world. Do you think that if you hadn't taken the mental health period, you would ever see the toxic work, or was it like you were completely blinded because you're so driven by work, or?
So yes and no, right? I mean, I was aware that it was toxic, right? Like, it's kind of like a drug addict that's like, I know I need to stop doing meth, but like also I can't stop doing meth. So like I said, the money was good. The thing I miss probably the most about that job, aside from like all my friends that I got to see all the time there, is the benefits. Like, I went to the doctor and I was like, this is not at all like my old insurance. Like, my old insurance, it sounds like, I'm sorry, I'm such a
I have to
boomer,
pay
guys,
something?
like,
What is this bill you speak of?
yeah, that's pretty much what it was. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I paid $20 when I come here. They're like, no. So that was a kind of a shift. But so again, the money was amazing. You're there and it's almost like you build a trauma bond with the people. This is so sad, right?
Yes.
But it's
No, it's
reality.
so
But
true.
like you build a trauma bond with the people that you're there every day with, and you're like in the trenches with them. So you are like, I hate what I do, but do I hate what I do? No, not really. Like these people are all suffering too, and I like being with these people, and you all joke about it, and you have the sick, dark sense of humor, and like, but then you take that 30 days like gets you to take that step back, and you're just like, oh shit, like I did what? I just worked how many hours in a week? I'm only compensated for what? I was talking to an old friend and she was like, congratulations, you finally understand what quiet quitting is. And I was like, oh, that's what that is. Okay. Um, but because it's like a sales job, so you have your quotas and stuff you have to hit. So it's like when you're in it, you're blindly chasing that and you're on this like hamster wheel. So like if I had a day off, which we already covered is never a day off, but if I wasn't at the place of my work, or I was like in a therapy session, like I was fully aware. I'm like, this is insanity. And the other part of it that's so asinine is like, I would never ask somebody that I was in a leadership role. I would never ask the people that worked for me to work to the level that I was working. I always believed that like your family should come first. Like my mentality as a leader was you're a human first and an employee second, right? So like you have a family, maybe it's your kids, your mom, your grandpa, your pets, whatever it is, like you got your own shit and people got to deal and handle with their shit before you're a fucking employee. Like, yes, you work here, but like if you left me, I'd have to replace you, you know?
Right.
But me, on the other hand, I was like, I'm a machine. I don't need time off. I'll just work 100 more hours. So, and shop all the time. Like, it's just weird. Like, you sit there and you like a driving thing that was holding me there was that money. I was like, I need this money. I took a pay cut to do what I do now.
Mm.
And that was terrifying, especially as like everything is more and more and more expensive every single day. Um, so like I didn't think I would want to do it. And that was like a terrifying thing. That was the thing I was the most worried about. And I can honestly say I haven't even thought about that once since I've been there. Like, not to sound like privilegey or whatever, but like being out at 4:30 every day, just like walking out of the office in my house to like, I don't know, go feed the dogs at 4:30. Like it's just, I don't know, night and
And
day.
being done, like you're done at 4:30, but you're also done, right? You're like you're not
Yeah,
getting
like my
calls at
phone
six
doesn't
o'clock at
ring.
night.
Like,
Exactly.
no.
Exactly.
That's
If
awesome.
it does, it's like an office phone that goes to the office voicemail and it's gonna be there at 8 o'clock when I get there the next day. Like it's amazing.
I always find it interesting talking to people because I mean, as I talked about on an earlier episode, I also removed myself from a very toxic work environment. I didn't take the 30-day mental day, had a baby. I don't know which is the better approach.
It's probably more peaceful to take the 30 days, but
I
just
would think
saying.
so, yeah.
You get more sleep with the 30 days, I think, but it is weird just how much like it's you described it perfectly. It's the meth head who like they know they shouldn't do meth, but at the same time, and you build those bonds, and it's like we've talked about this a lot of different aspects of things. It's like being at war with some of the people you work with, where you're like you're all in it together type deal.
Oh,
So
but here's the thing, like that's what like fuels that toxic environment is this
mhm.
concept of like we're all in this together. Like first of all, fucking are we though? Because like I'm not leaving, but y'all are leaving. My boss isn't even available to me to call. So like, are we all in this together? And if we are all in this together, like who says it has to be this total shithole? Like
Right.
why? Why does it have to be a shithole? Why can't we be all together in a party? Like this sucks.
What
Who's
did you
gonna
call
say
it? A
that this
trauma
sucks?
cult? You called it a trauma
I
cult, I
call
think?
yeah, it was a trauma bonds and like I
Oh,
called it
right,
the
right.
cult. Like we all went out my last night there and we took shots to like leaving the cult. And the reason that I say that is like I know that that's probably like super insensitive to people in like actual cults, but like okay,
There's
so
just so much
just
to
bear with
digest from
me.
that statement.
Yeah,
Just
I was
bear
just like,
with me. um you are like I don't want to call it love bombing, but that's probably the closest thing to it. It's all this praise that you get when you're on top. Like when your store is that number one store, it's like everybody's got to know what you're doing and and how are you doing it? And your boss wants you to look at this, and then you're going to go talk on this call. And it's all these like feel good, feel up moments. And then the second that 1 millimeter drop and another store is on top, it's like, how do I get back there? So it's like they build this like, it's almost like an addiction to like winning, but they have all these like, I don't know, I call them like culty sayings, right? Where they're like, dig deeper, and like, we're all in this together, and we're gonna soar to the top, and like, it's just, you hear a lot in like sports too, and I think it's supposed to be this motivational like talk, but I do feel like there's this fine line between like motivation and brainwash. I don't know.
They're playing you like David Goggins videos to get pumped up for work and stuff.
Just every morning in the break room, it's like,
no, guys, one time I went to this training for this company, and every morning they started it with like this intense like dance session, but it was like right here, right now, right here, right. And you chanted that. Like, chanting should never occur in anywhere but a call. Like, I'm just like, it's that mob mentality of like, I don't know. It's there's just these, I don't know. And then I just feel like part of it is like, again, it could have just been the leadership in place at the time. I'm not really sure, but it was just this, a lot of like quid pro quo. Like, if you are good for me here, then I'm going to be the one to take you to the top over here. So it's like you're simultaneously poisoning us against each other as we like fight for that next step spot. But at the same time, we have this weird trauma bond. So like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but there is a leader that we follow. You're all supposed to follow this leader who's supposed to be inspirational to you, get you all motivated,
and at the
there's
end, apparently you drink a
prizes and
juice. Apparently at the end, you drink a juice. Hey, you're alive still, so that's
listen,
step
we
up,
called it
okay?
drinking the Kool-Aid. Like,
Yeah.
when you buy into that business, they call it and tell you that you're drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, how fucked up is that? None of us saw that this was a cult, but we're like,
Yeah, wow.
yeah, I drink the Kool-Aid.
All right, listen. Let's get away from the negativity of a company that some of our listeners probably have figured out by now.
If you know, you
And
know.
if you know, you know. And shift to something that we've basically already shifted to. Maggie is very, very, very into, as you, if you couldn't have guessed, she's very into Colts. She's got more questions than answers. Really likes to just kind of, if you ever get a chance to watch a documentary with my sister, you'll know a few things. Thing number one, she's going to ask you questions like you should be in the documentary, like you should know the answers to her questions, even though you're watching it for the first time with her. Secondly, she's going to come out of every documentary with more questions than answers. So let's just dive right in, Maggie. Why don't you just give us your take on cults, or your thoughts on some of the cults of life, or anything you want to talk about cult related?
All right. So before I start cults, I'm just going to like defend a little against the excessive questions, because I have been told that I ask too many. But for me, that's how I like, I'm always interested in what other people's opinions and thoughts are, because I feel like you have to, I think it should be human nature to want to grow and learn and evolve and change, and honestly, at the end of the day, like, who the fuck am I? So like, why is my opinion any better than the next person's? Like, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of opinions. But I also am interested to hear why some people believe certain things, even if those things are like completely asinine. Like, how could you believe that? I need to know. So that's where the questions come into play.
Okay.
As far as cults go, speaking of, I feel like that's a thing. I always said that, like, I'm not sure I could ever get involved in a cult or fall victim to a cult. I know I just said I left one, but like,
I was like,
I mean, a real cult. And the reason I used to say that was that, like, I have this like questioning mindset of like, but you just said this, so that doesn't make any sense if you're going to tell it to me this way over here, which drives people bonkers. But I think that would help me. But then NXIVM happened, and I was like, wait a second, I would have fallen victim to that, because it's like pushed to you as like a self-improvement seminars, right? Like, you're just going to these self-improvement seminars, and I think, again, you want to learn to be a better person, you want to grow, you want to adapt and evolve. And that shit was like right up my alley. I was like, that I would have gone to that at least once. I mean, I'm not going to brand anybody. I think by the time someone like brought me in a back room and was like, we're going to put this guy's initials on your body, at that point I've been like, oh,
hard pass.
Yeah. I think I'm out, guys. I think I'm out. But one of the things that I find so fascinating with cults is like, I I probably over attribute things to cults. Like I also believe that like social media has like this very culty vibe to it. And I feel that way. And I feel there's like tiers of it too, right? So like, so bear with me on this one. On Facebook, we're friends, right? You friended me, we're friends. But on Instagram, I have followers, right? So like the language I think that we use in different situations, I almost wonder has like, I don't know, think about it. Like on LinkedIn, there are connections that you make. And I understand like that's the verbiage you would use because it's a corporate thing, right? But is it? Is it really a corporate like sharing thing? Or are you building your Rolodex to use some weird way? I don't know. I'm just saying. But I think that even, I don't know, I just think you really can't do anything in life anymore if you don't have social media. Like, I know that sounds wild, but like, my husband doesn't use any sort of social media and he's super proud of himself for that. He's like, I'm not on any of them. Seth can attest to this.
I mean, he's also ancient, but continue.
Yeah, but think about this. Guess who he asks on at least a once a month basis? Hey, can you check Facebook and see if it's so and so's birthday? So like he's still connected in a way, right? Think about like, oh, I found this, whatever, where'd you get that? Oh, I got it on, a TikTok ad. I got it on an Instagram ad. I saw it in an Instagram reel. Like our lives are so wrapped up in this shit. And you really can't not be on it. Like, yeah, you can delete one of them, but there's very few people that have literally zero social media. Why? Because the world tells us that we have to. Someone somewhere, Zuckerberg, tells us that we have to.
So now Zuckerberg is wait a minute. So now Zuckerberg is a cult leader too?
Yeah, but not as much as Elon.
We're just gonna this is something, it comes up a lot in our podcast life. We all have our certain takes on the man. But it's right up there with our talk on aliens, which we'll get to. Don't worry about it. But it's a perfect time. I mean, we can continue and dive more into the cult life if you want, or you and I were just talking today about Elon. So if you want to let it rip about Elon, you go right ahead. He's not going to listen to this. We've tried. Elon, if you are listening, notice I'm in space tonight. So if he is listening, maybe he'll come on our show sometime.
Here's my take on Elon Musk. I think he's a dangerous man. I don't necessarily give a shit what he says or doesn't. I don't want to say it. I guess like the content. No, that's not right either. I don't care if you buy into his shenanigans as far as like you think what he's saying is truthful, or maybe he does have some truths or whatever. I just think that he says a lot of things, and because he has a lot of money, that he's actually able to do certain things. And I do think that there's like weird resemblances to cult aspects. And here's what I'll say. So he buys Twitter, right, for under the guise of free speech. But it's only free speech because that's what was important to us in the moment, right? Like everybody is, I don't want to say everybody, but it's a big topic of conversation that they're censoring certain things online, right? So he jumps on this bandwagon to like gather this anger or these like polarized feelings that people have on this subject, and he just like pokes those flames. And then he buys the fucking platform again because he can, and he says it's for free speech. But he also allegedly, okay, now you guys won't get sued now, allegedly he had paid for surveillance on a guy that was a whistleblower for his Tesla company. So because this guy, who I would say was using his own free speech, wanted to talk some shit about Tesla, talk some shit, talk real facts, whatever you want to call it. Because again, this man has this money and these resources to do this. He runs this surveillance on this guy, which, by the way, is what the Church of Scientology does when you are making claims about and against their church. Like, this is, it feels so invasive. And yet, in one hand, he's like, no, this isn't right. You know, these people are doing invasive things, but then he can go and do this surveillance. Like, it just doesn't seem right. It seems like the rules only apply to him, or the rules only apply to everyone but him. And if that's because he has money, like, I just don't believe it. But I also think that he's like touted as this like savior, like he's gonna save us in this world that's whatever. And he plays into that. I think he also plays into the fact that like he wants to be this relatable guy. Like, he'll sit there and he'll smoke weed on Joe Rogan's show because he's this super relatable guy. Motherfucker, no, he's not. He has more money than anyone else. He's not relatable. He's not your friend. You don't know him, and he doesn't give a shit about you. But he plays up this card like he does, and I just feel like that's exactly like how a cult leader like ropes you in. Like, I think I told Seth this morning, I was like, he's starting a Jonestown on Mars. Like, we need to see that. Why do we not see this?
What's Jonestown? I don't know what Jonestown is.
Jonestown's the guy who, go ahead, Maggie, you'll do it better than I will.
He had a whole colony down in these islands. It's the people that drink the Kool-Aid. So he brings all these people. It started out in California, I believe, and it was more of like a church. And actually, at the time where it initially started was like, and people that got in at that like ground level were like, he's doing great things. Like, he was, you know, pro civil rights, and he was, you know, a congregation that mixed like blacks and whites in a time that just like didn't happen. And he seems so open and accepting. Well, it turns out he then started taking a shit ton of fucking drugs. He gets all these people to move down to this like island, basically forces them into slave labor to keep this community, Jonestown, working and operating, and has sex with whoever he wants, whenever he wants.
That's a classic cult thing.
Of course.
Ends up
right?
having sex with everybody somehow.
Of course, but nobody else is allowed to have sex. Like, it's very strange. It's always
weird.
a weird thing. And ultimately he then convinces everyone to drink this Kool-Aid. But it turns out there's like some reports that people that actually did escape, like, they were like, we didn't necessarily want to drink this. Like, we saw what was happening to people as we're like waiting in line for this. Like, we didn't want to do this, but you're basically being forced to at that point, because at that point it's far too late. And I think obviously outsider looking in, it's very easy to like be like, how could anybody get involved in that? That seems so crazy. Why would you go down to this land? You had no idea. But like, you believed that this guy was doing these great things, and he's this person that's going to have these answers for you, and he can bring about these facts and these times. And look at this great community that he built, that the rest of the world didn't want us to have a part of this. And, you know, the outside people don't trust us. It becomes this concept of like, believe me, believe what I'm saying, don't believe what anybody else is saying. I'm the only one that has the truth. And I think you see that with like Trump too. Again, I don't give a shit if you believe what he says, don't believe what he says, you like it, it's good, it's bad, I don't give a shit. The fact is that the way that they go about like spreading their message just seems like, I don't know, these people are all wrong, I'm doing the same thing, but you're gonna like it the way I say it. And I just feel like that's where it gets like dangerous and icky, and that's why I don't like him. And he one time did say, tell me how to solve world hunger and I'll give you $6 billion. And he was told how to solve world hunger, and he was like, nah, I'm just playing, I'm not giving you $6 billion. Like, that's fucked up.
Trump said that?
No, Elon said that. Apparently.
Oh, Elon said that. Okay, gotcha. So,
which I was unaware that he actually said, but it just makes him a worse human being. It's fine.
Yeah,
so I guess
just, I don't know,
the free speech thing, I guess I understand the almost double standard you're saying there. I just, when it comes to things like the Twitter files, I feel like when it's the government doing it to people, then it's like different than a private citizen protecting himself. I understand it's kind of a double standard because that's what he was saying, but
I think that like brings a good point though. And this, I think, is why I ask so many questions and people like Seth get so aggravated with me, is because there has to be a line somewhere, right? Like, there's this arbitrary line, but like, who gets to decide where that line is, right? So for example, My husband hates when I play this game, but I usually just will like throw a random question out where I'm
It's a
like, what
great
would you
game. It's
do
a
if,
hilarious
right?
game.
Or I'm like, what would happen if this happened? So we're driving in the car one day and I was just like, if I went to jail, would you come visit me? And he was like, I guess it would depend. And I was like, on what? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, but you must have some idea because you said it depends. Like it
You
wasn't a
don't
no and it
know.
wasn't a yes. Like you have a line there that is some stuff is okay and you would come and visit me and you'd still associate with me. And some stuff is not. So like there's a justifying line somewhere. He's like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, how can you not know what that is? It exists. It has to exist.
Got to think about it a little harder. You'll figure it out. It's there
So I was
somewhere.
like, I started throwing scenarios. I'm like, what if I killed somebody? He's like, I guess it would
Who'd you
depend on
kill?
why. And I was like,
Why'd you
yeah,
kill
who'd
him?
you kill?
Who'd you
Why'd you kill
kill?
him? Like, so
How
again,
did you kill
we're
him?
like narrowing this line, but there is this line. So like there's gotta be some form of universal line, but also who gets to decide that.
The
So
cult leaders, duh.
that's what I'm saying. Somebody that you listen to, somebody that you're like, they make a lot of sense. They're bringing me there. I do
Yeah.
find it weird that you need like charisma, and I don't find Elon Musk to have charisma. I find him to have like doucheisma. Like I just like he's just kind of so douchey that people want to believe him. I guess I don't know.
He's such an
Like
internet troll,
following a
which gets
yeah,
him like a lot of people who love him because of the funny shit that he says, but then it's like you got to take him serious for other things. So I can see
but
where
I
that would be
think that
difficult.
that's like part of that relatable thing that he's trying to do too, where it's like, look at me, I'm a troll, just like everybody else can be a troll online. But at the same time, like he can also say and do a lot more shit because he has a lot more fucking money. So like his consequences are different. I don't
Yeah.
know.
What do you think about him trying to go to Mars? I mean, I feel like that's cool, right?
I
Well, other than the
do.
fact that she thinks he's bringing people there to kill him. Yeah,
I think
Wait,
okay,
what?
that's
back
the whole
up.
Jonestown. Let's
No,
rewind to the back
no,
to the
no, no. I
Jonestown.
said what I meant when I said he was creating Jonestown. I guess what I meant was like he's basically going to create a culture where like people want to move to Mars because it's Elon Musk's next frontier, right? So like they're following him to this place. At which point he's just further and further and further and further removing people from outside influence, which is again what makes him fucking dangerous. Like
Real
he's
cultish. I can
removing
see
outside
it.
influence. So I don't know. I feel like go to Mars, cool, bro. Um, but I also feel like why? Like what I guess I don't understand what his point is. I think it's exciting and I think that's why people get on board. But I mean there's also still people that don't even believe we ever landed on the moon, like that it was a faked moon landing, which again, believe it, don't believe it, I don't give a shit. But if we can't I don't see a world where like if that didn't happen and you really think we're gonna go to Mars, what are you going to do when you're there? You're going to start a cult. It's the same thing I saw before Kanye. Kanye bought all that land years ago. And I was like, he's starting a cult. He has Sunday services. He's got all this land. He's going to have a ranch. I'm telling you, in 10 years, there's going to be a massacre. And Kanye has a cult. Fucking fast forward to 2023. Who's believing me a little bit further now, guys? I'm just saying. Have we seen what Kanye makes his girlfriends wear? And they all wear it. Kanye also has mind control. He's also going to be a cult leader. I don't know. I think maybe we just fall victim because we just mindlessly follow shit. I didn't
We just
answer
got to
your
pick the
question
right
at
cult
all.
leader. We all
I
follow
was gonna say,
somebody, right?
I mean, we all listen to somebody at some point, so I guess we're technically all part of a cult. Yes, no, maybe so.
I think it depends on how much you question it.
Some more advanced members and some less advanced.
Well, look at cults. Like again, allegedly Scientology as a cult, right? So you have different ranks, and like the more you move up those ranks, the closer you are to allegedly being saved. That's usually what this is all about. Like a cult is going to save you in some way, shape, or form. Your group, your organization. You'd never say, I'm in a cult and I'm happy being there. Your organization is going to save you in some way, shape, or form. And the higher up in those ranks you move, the closer you get to that truth. So I do feel like when you're just like this low person on the totem pole, you probably do feel like the job that you're doing for that organization is just handing out pamphlets and it's totally harmless because you genuinely believe that you're helping save the world and making it a better place. But once you move up, now that's when you start doing like, hiding crimes and,
Committing the
feeding the
crimes
leader his
yourself.
drugs,
And yeah,
committing the crimes yourself. But by the time you get there, you're so, again, almost isolated. It's like I look at cults almost like you look at like a toxic relationship, right? Like you might have this like abusive boyfriend or girlfriend, right? And they just like, they love you, they love you, they love you. And then they beat the shit out of you, whether it's physically or psychologically. And you're so beat down in a sense that then it's like, but they still tell me they love me. So that person still loves me. So it's like you get a love bomb and then the shit kicked out of you. And that's kind of how you break people down and mold them into what you need them to be. It's like brainwashing in a sense.
Right.
I think there's time and place for that. Like, for example,
military, basic training.
I was just gonna say the military, like if you're gonna go to a foreign country and you have to be in battle, like you can't really afford to be thinking for yourself in that situation. Like I just don't think you can. However, we don't deprogram you very well when you get back either.
No,
like,
we don't.
People that do leave cults typically have to go through like deprogramming. And we don't do that for the necessary cult behavior that we have to have in like the military, corporate America, wherever you might have to have it.
Right. Would you say you consider yourself in any cults currently?
I would say not.
You don't have to say it if it's
Wait, time out. Do me a favor. Although knowing you're probably
the cult
not
of
wearing
TikTok, probably.
You're probably not wearing it, but do me a favor, put both wrists up like, oh, you are wearing, so you are part of the Fitbit cult. Yep.
Oh, that's a
It's
cult.
not Fitbit. This is a Google Pixel Watch. Watch yourself.
Even worse.
I mean, you've
Pixel
branded
Watch
yourself even more, which means you paid for that level that you're at currently.
Listen, yeah. So here's the thing. I am a green bubble. Please don't hate me.
Ooh.
It's real awkward at Christmas time. We make her sit at a different table.
You just don't include her in some group chats.
Yeah, of course.
You break my phone all the time. I hate it. So here's the thing. Again, I worked in the cell phone industry for a very long time, and I have an iPad. I'm chatting with you guys on an iPad right now. I love it. I have my Dre Beats in my ear right now, which pair nicely with my iPad, gives me the battery levels. That things are so easily enmeshed. There are two reasons I will not switch to an iPhone, because at this point they basically do the exact same thing. Like for a long time I was like, I'm more customized, I can do this, I can do that, my camera's better, the price point's better, and in some aspects it is. But one, I am not ready to give my entire life to Apple. And once you switch and you have your iPad and your phone and your watch, like there's no going back.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about a cult? Apple is a cult.
That's
there's
accurate.
no going back.
I would agree.
They have you by the balls. There's everything intertwines, everything syncs, everything works so seamlessly together. And you can get that in the Android world, but it's still not as good. And I hate saying that because I fucking hate Apple for that reason. It's like a principles thing at this point, but I won't switch my phone because again, I don't want to give my whole life to Apple. Again, 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the cult, people.
So Apple Haters Club or which cult is this?
She likes to dabble in many cults at the same time, see which ones fit her.
I pick and choose what I like from each. I'm a cafeteria culty.
We're gonna have shirts made up. It's fine.
Please do. But the other reason is, and guys, this is so stupid, but I like my back button, and I like it's just always there. It's always on my screen. I used an iPhone for work. My team would tell me I was mentally challenged with it. Just because it's muscle memory at this point. We've all had smartphones for many iterations at this point. So I like my back button. And I also like that on my phone, I get on Apple now, you can have your whole app tray on your phone. Like you don't have to have every single fucking icon you've ever downloaded displayed.
Right.
Fucking finally, Apple. But I still like that, like I can put like 4 icons at the top and 4 at the bottom, or all down the side if I want, or like whatever it is I still can customize my icons the way that I like them. I mean, not that I've changed it in my last 4 phones because I just use Samsung Smart Switch to go from one to the next, but it's the way that I like it. So my muscle memory works. And also, fuck you, Apple. I'm not changing my life to you. But I do
I
love my
mean,
iPad.
it's fair. To be fair, I am probably the least Apple iPhone user in the world. I have an iPhone, and on my iPhone, I have my Gmail as my primary mail. I have my Google Calendar as my primary calendar. I have my Google Drive as my primary. I
Yeah.
use Beats for my headphones. I don't use AirPods. I
Yeah,
don't have
but
an
Beats
Apple
are
Watch.
Apple now, aren't they?
Are they?
Like my
Not the
Beats,
one.
bro. These charged with a lightning cable, which up until this most recent iPhone 15 was proprietary. So they charge with the Apple Lightning. You open them up and they're right next to my iPad, and it's like,
Oh, shit.
you have 96%, and your case is at 42%. Double click if you want to answer your call or end your call. Like, it just, everything is so seamless between Beats. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
2014,
I don't know.
Apple acquired
Yeah.
them.
Again,
Yeah.
I don't.
It's been forever.
I use my AirPod or my Beats headphones to listen to music.
Thank you.
Oh, she gone. She's back.
Hang up on us?
Was that
Guys,
Steve Jobs was listening?
I need to tell you, as I'm talking about how great my fucking Beats are, I hit the button on the side of the end of the call. So, not
So they're
ready to be
sensitive.
fully Apple.
They are sensitive.
All right, we're taking notes. We're taking notes. That's fine.
I do.
Product
I
review.
love them.
Product
though.
review.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
From a non-Apple user. Yeah. Sorry, guys. At least I made it rich.
Yeah, what the fuck?
So Maggie, you've been like the easiest guest ever. I've done no work as a host. You walk through
I just
your
talk a
list all by
lot.
yourself.
Yeah.
So
These are my
we're gonna move
passion
on
projects.
to it's good. We're gonna move on to
Talk
the
about these
topic
things a
that
lot.
we talk to everybody about, and it'll probably just seamlessly be another transition for you. What's your stance on aliens?
I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little confused. Like, well, here's the thing. One thing about me is I am a sucker for clickbait. And so once I read like the first 2 sentences and then it doesn't immediately tell me like what the picture and the clickbait was, I'm kind of over it. So I have a lot of tidbits here, but there was something about like these dolls, or not dolls, allegedly alien carcasses, maybe.
The two of
They look
them.
like paper mache. Yeah.
Yeah.
The ones in
So
Mexico?
I think it was Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, like, are those they were like little though, kind of, right? Were
Like
they
2 or
baby
3 foot
aliens?
tall.
I don't know. So I don't let me preface this. I don't know if aliens are real or not real. I do believe in like parallel universes, but I can't get like too into it because I go in like a little bit of a black hole, and like people tend to put time travel in there, and that like really sends me into a tizzy. So like, but I don't know if I believe in aliens. I do believe that there's like another version of you in a parallel universe
The
doing similar
multiverse.
shit. Yeah, and like it's really bad when they collide, and like I please don't like discredit me as a guest on here for saying this, but like I feel like sometimes I have experienced like parallel universes colliding where you're like you meet someone, not you, because I think that makes the world explode. Maybe I'm not really sure on that. A little iffy.
I haven't seen the rules
but, like,
recently, but
we'll Google them. It'll be fine.
But like someone else that you in another universe would interact with comes over into this universe with you, and your life kind of goes into like chaos and turmoil. Like it's kind of weird. So anyway, sorry, this has nothing to do with aliens other than to say it could happen. I don't think it's the paper mache dolls. I do think it's that guy that brought it up, Seth, that I sent you the picture of.
Oh yes,
He looked like
Grush?
an alien.
the whistleblower guy
Yeah,
who was
Grush,
like,
David
yeah, I've
Grush,
seen,
I think.
yeah. Maggie thinks he's the alien.
I think he
actually
is. He looks like it. Have you seen the photo? He looks like an alien would look. That's what I think an alien would look like. Kind of like with the nose, like a little bit kind of weird. Like it just doesn't. There's gonna be some
They tried to recreate a
differences.
human, but they fucked up in a couple of spots.
Like they've only watched really bad like episodes of Botched or something, so like they only know like like when people are learning English as a second language, or like I learned it by watching Family Matters on late night TV, or I think that's what they learned, like what humans look like. So they're trying to like infiltrate, but they don't quite look right. Close though.
So if there are aliens,
Yeah.
do you think that they would come here and be friendly or hostile or?
Well, I think that it would depend on their motives for coming here, because quite honestly, like if you didn't live here, would you come here? Like,
I mean, it's a planet that hosts life.
I was gonna say it's a planet that hosts life. We talk about this a lot because like you start to think about, okay, so we're
like from Mars? Like where are
Could be
they
anywhere.
from?
Probably outside of our solar system, I would guess. If we haven't
see,
seen them
but
yet.
the question that's always arisen.
That makes sense. I'm on board with that.
Obviously.
No further questions.
No, the question that always rises is like, are they like super advanced? And so what's the point of them coming here? Or do we have stuff that they don't have? Like they're not advanced, but if they're not advanced, how did they get here? Because we can't get to them yet. So
well, allegedly, Elon can.
Yeah, but there's like a 30% chance that he's an alien.
30%? Where's your fucking show your work, dude? Where does that percentage come from?
We got to carry a
30%
zero on that,
chance.
I'm pretty sure.
Guys,
I'll give you he's out there. I'll give you this is the other thing I don't like about him. Then we can get off of Elon, but like I say that, but it's gonna keep coming back to him because I'm just like really about him in the moment, like aggravated towards him. But he's like presented to us as this genius, and I genuinely don't think that he is. I'll give you that he might be like a business and or marketing genius. So like he's good at marketing himself, he's good at marketing his ideas, he's good at marketing these concepts, but I don't think he's an actual genius. I just don't. And I think again, dangerous that we're calling him one when I just don't think he is one. So you're 30%, I don't know, Seth. You got to give me more better work. Show your work.
Exhibit A is the picture of him on the boat. No man can be that pale, and no man can have that body shape. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for a human being. So that would be a good driving force. Two,
Seth,
I think that he
have
lives.
You never been to a state fair?
That's fair. I have been to
plenty of people there that you're like, nobody should have that body shape. How does that happen? You're saying every single one of them, 30% chance they're
what if state fairs are the like conventions for aliens? Which would explain the clientele of state fairs.
Yeah, it's all coming together. That's an accurate depiction of
think of it this way. Think of all the crazy human beings you've seen at the state fair. And where else do you run into those human beings?
No, the question is, where else do you run into them? Because I interact with them frequently. Like
I'm a hermit. I'm a hermit. I don't interact with human beings. They're weird.
Any sort of free event, like you go to like a festival in a downtown area, you are seeing state fair quality. Now up here, it's a little harder because it's freezing 75% of the year. So you don't get some of the outfits that you get at the state fair, but like you get the clientele. You get that customer base, man. You got to go back to work in retail. I'm telling you, I used to have a guy come in. He would come in full bib overalls, no shirt. He was hairy Santa Claus looking man that smelled like cat pee. You're telling me 30% chance he's an alien?
That's fair. I did have when I worked in retail, we did have a guy came in. He was known notoriously as duct tape man. He duct taped his ears. Because that's where the aliens came in and talked to him. So he wore duct tape over his ears.
That guy, 45% chance he's an alien.
Once you had duct tape,
only 45.
Yeah, once you had duct tape in, you can only add 15%. Come on, this is simple math, guys.
Gotcha.
Beginning to wonder how you have the degrees you have if that's your math.
I mean, duct tape is poison to aliens. Everybody knows that.
Duh, come on. So on the same keynote as aliens, what about ghosts? Do you believe in ghosts?
Not like Casper the ghost, but like I don't even know if it's ghosts or just like energy. I do believe that like I don't know if it's like, oh, they died and they have like this unfinished business and they're gonna haunt my grandma's house because they don't want me to sell it. Like I don't believe in it like that, but like I don't know. I just feel like you've never gone somewhere and just been like, I don't know, like
Feels
get like a nice little hug from something that like you're like,
Oh
oh,
yeah,
that was
no,
nice. I
I
wonder what that
100%
was.
believe in them. I 100% believe in them. So I've
But I
experienced
don't
them.
know as though it's always like people that you knew or that
No.
like I don't know if like someone can haunt me. I think it's just like, you know,
Well, I mean, we won't know until you potentially murder someone and
I end up in jail.
your husband's trying to figure out if he should visit you in jail. And meanwhile, the ghost is already there at jail haunting you.
But
So
here's I'm gonna throw this back to you. So human nature is to like need a sense of community or belonging. Not to bring this back to cults again, guys, but that's what they prey on,
everything
right?
comes back to cults.
So
it's fair.
everything comes back to cults. Um, that's what they prey on, right? Is this like need, and that's why I do think a lot more people are more susceptible than they think, especially nowadays when like we do get our sense of interaction from each other online mostly. Like, you know, I mean, obviously, look how we're all communicating right now, right?
Right.
So I sometimes wonder if like those ghosts or those spirits or those beings around you are just like they need some community too, you know? I don't think they can be in I don't know, they just like want to be back where they were. If you died when you want to go back to what you loved and then like see people experiencing what you loved.
It's good. It's a good thought. I don't
So
think
it's like a
What
anybody's
do you
really.
think happens
conscious,
when you die?
it's like a
That's what I'm
conscious
sorry. I'm
energy.
like I just like took this like
No,
No,
this
it's a
is
good
rambling.
listen,
question.
this is why we have guests. We love guests who take things and run with it.
What do I think happens? Nothing.
Yeah.
I think nothing happens. So
You just
it's
like
depressing, but yeah.
decompose and that's it.
Yeah, it just ends.
Okay. Seth, what do you think happens?
It's dark.
I
Yeah,
think
but I mean, scientifically, I almost said Scientology.
How
Scientifically,
did you know I was a Scientologist?
great. Now we're definitely gonna get
yeah,
a now we're
John
definitely
Travolta
gonna
is gonna kill me after this, right? He's a
wait. No,
Scientologist.
I thought
Is
he
John
was out.
Travolta?
No, it's Tom Cruise. I thought Travolta was out. Allegedly. All of this is allegedly.
Alleged.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Protect yourself. Allegedly.
No, I think so. I'm a believer. So I believe in ghosts. I believe I've experienced ghosts. I can't believe I never told you about the ghost in my old Baldwinsville apartment.
Yeah, you got to tell a story.
So the ghost in the old Baldwinsville apartment, my first one, not the one I lived in with dad, the one that dad moved into, was the one who like I knew of and was super normal and cool and
Wait,
chill.
I'm sorry. The one that had the gunshots?
Yeah, the gunshot one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
a
Same
whole
one, yeah.
different story.
And the deck. The deck
Yes.
too. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I knew there was a ghost. Sometimes, I just wake up and there'd be things that weren't where they're supposed to be. But as long as you were like friendly to the ghost and didn't make fun of the ghost or make fun of the ghost's being, you were fine. One time someone made fun of the ghost and all of my dishes were out of the dish rack in the morning because that person had made fun of the ghost. So yeah.
So you believe that they would like fuck with your surroundings that much?
I think if you so my belief on what a ghost is, and this is what
A
I
cult
believe
leader? Just
afterlife
kidding.
is, absolutely. They're all no. It's actually a cult of dead people.
Oh god.
Uh,
They're here to spread their word.
they
They
actually
get up
just
on
leave
fucking with people
they
and put their dishes on the ground and stuff.
yeah, instead of leaving pamphlets, they just screw with people.
Describe.
No, I truly believe that they your afterlife is based on if you have something that you feel you didn't accomplish, and whether that's something that you were aiming for, then your life ended and you didn't get there, or something like you never got to when you lived X place and now you're in Y place. And so as a ghost, you go back to X place because you want to accomplish that, but you're never going to accomplish it because you're dead.
But
So
Does it happen with everybody?
then wouldn't everyone be a ghost? Like you think that like you just die once everything in your life has been accomplished? Like
Some
That's
people.
more grim to me than Tyler's
What about
take on it.
what about the people who are like 106, 107 years old, and they're just like one day they just
Accomplished everything. What about living to be 107 and one
what if
day
they don't
old?
want
You
to
know what
live?
I mean?
What if they
Like,
don't want to live to be that old though? What if their goal in life was to
then
live
you
to be
visit
105?
Kevorkian. I don't know what to tell you.
How important does this goal have to be to you
Well,
to
that's just
not just go
Well,
blank
that's
and
that
become a
line,
ghost?
that question of like, yeah, how do you
Who decides how important the goal
ultimately
is?
kept me in my cult before, right? It was like this concept of like, there's another level. I've got to get to that other level. Like, how can you just be content in your theory? How do you know when you're content? And
I
then
mean,
you can
that's
die. Like, I'm good to die now. I mowed the lawn.
I'm not saying. I think it's less of a like, I did my chores today. I can die.
Yeah. But
But more of
sometimes, I'm
like
not kidding you though.
more
Like,
of
think
like
about
a
when people
regret
are depressed.
thing.
Like, sometimes mowing the lawn, if you're like a depressed person, like, that is like, I fucking did the thing today. I got out of my human burrito today. You know what I mean? Well, so
Right.
now I can die today, or like I can die from
No,
good.
I'm thinking more along the lines of like regretful things, like after the fact you wish you had done while you were in that situation.
Like traumatic things that would
Yeah,
spark something.
not even necessarily traumatic, but like if you had a chance to do something and you didn't get a chance to do it, and it's obviously bugged you enough later on that you're still wearing that, say 10 years in the future, 20 years in the future, whatever, then, you know,
I don't
maybe
believe in
that's,
regret. Do you believe in regret?
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there are things I regret.
Yeah, but
I mean, I
think
would say
about
there
it.
are situations that I certainly regret.
Well, I mean, choices maybe that you made that like you here's I guess where like I feel about regret is like, to me, if you regret it, you wish it went differently. But if it went differently, would you be who and what you are right now if that situation went differently?
Oh yeah, no, this is a question we talk about this a lot all the time. How like if we had made slight decisions 20 years ago, the three of us, me and Rich and Tyler, would never know each other. And how like
Yeah, but then you're saying you don't believe in fate, because what if it's fate that the two of you or the three of you did meet? Like, I think
That was
that's
the
how I think
argument.
about it.
that was
Fate,
yeah.
or is it just like
For all of our
result of our choices?
for all of our listeners out there, if you were to give us a like and subscribe, you could probably go back and listen to that episode where we discuss fate. just hitting
Smart,
it, just hitting it while
smart.
I can.
What episode was it? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know. You'll have to listen to all of them, I guess.
Between 1 and 10 somewhere.
Hopefully, it's not one of those early ones that was like 2.5 hours long.
Probably was.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
probably was, he says.
But yeah, that's the question, right? Is like, is fate a thing, or do you have like a general outline and you gotta pick your day to day, or like
Well,
it's
according to you, and when you die, yeah, it's based on when you no longer have anything left to do in your life. Or else you're gonna be a ghost. So like, you cool as spreading the ghost propaganda, or are you gonna be fulfilled? Like, which one is it?
what if my goal in life is to be a ghost? Then I just
So what was your
No.
ghost's goal then, Seth? The one in the apartment.
I mean, maybe they just really didn't live it up when they were there. Maybe that was their college years. Maybe they were going to college and they didn't have a college life that they really wanted to have. And so they're sad. So they went back to that apartment to live the college life, because I lived the college life when I was in that apartment pretty hard.
I don't remember that. I think we think of college life as very different things.
Well, I didn't live the actual college life, especially that level of college life, but like I think I did more college living in that apartment than in actual college, for
How are
sure.
you classifying college living? Like, broke as fuck, terrible food, and drink a lot? Like,
I mean,
Sounds about right.
luckily I wasn't broke as
Skip
fuck
accurate.
because
classes.
I had a job, like a required job, but you know, yeah, most of those things. I skipped a lot of things. Let's just ignore him. You guys want to kick him out? Let's
Who
do
the
it.
fuck is this guy?
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, I
Did
totally
you
forgot
just
about
wake up,
that.
dude?
Yeah, I look
He
like
was
it.
busy with Schmunger or whatever he was doing. Sketchmonger.
Yeah, yeah. However that came
What did
out.
that? What did your text autocorrect to, like Sudoku or
Some
something?
Sudoku or some weird thing like that.
I'm not even gonna lie. I thought you were talking about like a video game thing. I 100% thought it was like, is he talking about a video game? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. No. I got something going on the
All right.
West
So
Coast.
anyway, that was a great episode. Um,
How far? I mean, are you guys basically done?
I mean, we're about to the lightning round, I think.
Yeah, we just talked about aliens and ghosts.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch the episode to see if you believe.
Don't tell him. Don't tell him. Make him watch.
Well, I guess, Rich, real quick, what are your thoughts on cults?
Yes, please give us all your thoughts. And
Like
are
when
you
you-
currently a part of one?
No, not that. Well, I don't know. People probably would say as a Catholic, I am.
Oh my God, that's like the biggest one.
That was so
Yeah.
obvious.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it's described to a T.
When I think of
So-
a cult, I think of like a dark occultist that like praises the devil and tries to do necromancy.
I think that's
and
just a
shit like that.
witch. I think
Yeah,
that's
I
just
guess
called
so.
a witch.
Witches are probably
It's
part
no
of a
wonder
cult.
he's part of a cult
This
because
makes sense.
he's putting them in a very small box. He's not aware.
He's probably in
I'm
so
not
many
a-
cults he doesn't
I'm
know
not
about.
a-
We talked about this though. It's not like they come out and they're like, guys, I'm in a cult. Let me tell you about my cult.
Yeah. Dude, well, so there's a question
Hey,
like, do
here's
I
my
think they exist?
organization, and we're having dinner Friday night. You should come.
Yeah. Here's my
There might be
card.
some mild branding. It's fine. It's fine.
Branding comes later.
You have to get up to that tier. We've got it. We figured out cults.
You
It's
that
fine.
was a tier of that. You had to
Oh, I
be
know.
special.
I know
I
that
think
was
that plays into it too. Like it's this feeling of like, I don't really want to be branded, but also it makes me special. And who doesn't want to feel special?
Well, so wait, is the question if I think they exist or just like what
No,
are my
how would you
feelings?
define
They
one?
So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, how would you define a cult?
I think I
Give
would
us some-
define a
give some
cult
examples.
by I think I would define a cult by like a group of people that have a figurehead and potentially a hierarchy, and they believe in a, I guess, combined set of values.
You just
So
Google
like
it.
the exact definition of Catholic?
No, is that actually the?
No.
you did kind of just define religion, but that's fine.
Well, that's I guess that's kind of I guess religions are cults. I mean, if you think about it, like corporations could be very culty in a way. I mean,
Oh, that's the whole
Disney
episode.
100% is a cult, dude. Like Disney, when I worked there for a little bit, and then I remember saying something. They're like, "Well, Walt wouldn't want that," and I was like, "Well, Walt's been dead for like 40 years," and someone was like, "Don't say that!" Like they were like, people were like, "So."
then you got
offended by
40
it.
lashings.
Yeah, in front of everybody.
What about sports
Do you
fans?
see this man? He
What about
did not
sports
want-
fans? Are they cultish?
I would say for sure.
I think
for
they have
sure.
the ability to be.
They have the ability
Like,
to be.
I
Yeah.
think you could be I guess it's back to dipping your toes in the different cults, right? I mean, like
Cafeteria culty.
Cafeteria Culty. It's gonna be the name of this episode.
I guess there's like a spectrum, right, of how far along the cult journey are you? Like, are you just like an associate of a cult, or are you like you live and breathe the cult, right? So like somebody
level?
who is, like people that would like if you, like that one Devils fan that got stabbed in like Philly, and like just people like literally commit violence on behalf of their team. Actually, didn't a Patriots fan just get killed down in?
yeah,
don't know
there's
what
a lot of not around that story though.
Okay.
We won't talk about it yet because there's a question if the fight caused the death or if he had a predisposed injury, or that's a whole
Okay.
mess.
So outside of
Um,
that example, let's say people killing or committing violence on behalf of a team, right? Like, yeah, I would say that's very culty.
I mean, I think it's the blind following, right? Like
Taylor Swift, and like I love
The
Taylor Swift. And
Swifties? Oh,
I think she's phenomenally talented, but like I would call her Swifties like a cult. Just Bieber people,
Bieber fever, yo.
Bieber fever.
Beavets.
I mean, In Sync versus Backstreet Boys, like that could be culty.
I mean, we all know it's Backstreet Boys. That's
we all know that. We all
we
know
all
that.
know that.
Yeah, I guess it's just
Um,
how far along are you on that spectrum?
But at what point?
Oh, dude, politics is
Are
like the
you-
biggest, one of
That's
the best
another big one.
examples. Yeah.
Yes, but at what point, like, are you aware of how far into this you are? Like, at what point does it like tick into that dangerous level? Do you know what I mean? Like you said, I love Taylor Swift. She's incredibly talented, but like, am I going to go yell at John Mayer because he broke her heart one time? Probably
Yeah.
not.
No.
Allegedly.
That one's pretty proven. That one's pretty proven.
I think politics is probably like a day in day out example you see, because you have your figureheads, you have your like people that are established in the party, right? They're kind of like, in a way, I've said this before, right? Politics is a theology, and you have like your clergy, which is like your more prominent figureheads within the party. Then you have your leader, who's like either the president or the speaker, whatever it is. And I think like when you talk about like, do you notice it or not? Like we've seen people literally, like, remember the summer of 2020, how crazy it was? Like people literally killed each other, like over political ideas. People will turn blind eye towards things, even though they're this different sides of the same coin. But I think politics is probably one of the best examples today
Definitely.
of the whole. Yeah, and you could people always are like, well, like, oh, well, this isn't happening because of the other people, or this isn't happening because of that, or like, all this kind of stuff. And it's like Catholics versus Protestants. And I just think like it's so culty, man. It's so culty. Yeah.
But do you think then at some point, if you're not a cult, right, or if you're going to run on this front that you're not a cult, that you as the leader of at some level have an obligation to hear the other sides, or like say like, eh, man, that's not cool. Like, again, let's even take it away from politics. We'll go back to Taylor Swift, right? My beef with Taylor Swift is that her fans are fucking nuts, and they do and say insane things, and they talk shit about people online, and they do crazy stuff.
Do they
And
really?
she never is really like,
I didn't know all this.
hey, do I know this?
Oh no, I didn't know all this.
It's a
Oh my
well-known
god,
thing.
they're
Like if you,
insane. They like,
she's not even the first to do it. It was
yeah,
like
I mean,
Gaga
any
people who
popular
used to do it.
culture, any
Yeah.
pop icon goes insane, and they're willing to like, look at that guy that like tried to shoot the president that time because of some actress. Do you know what I'm talking about? You guys are all really young, but it was over Jodie Foster, right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
There's like an
Not-
assassination attempt over Jodie Foster.
Oh yeah.
Google,
Who they
Google check me on
who they
this.
try to assassinate? Who was this?
Reagan, maybe? Am I wrong? I don't know.
No, I think it
Google
was
check me.
Reagan.
But like,
Hang on.
in the name of Jodie Foster, right? And again, I'm not saying Taylor Swift fans are out there with guns, but like, I don't know
Yes.
if she does
Reagan.
enough to say like,
Reagan.
don't act this way. Like, don't be like that. Like, this is just a song. This is how I feel. This isn't like real life. The same goes for like Trump, right? Again, I don't want to get too into that, but like, he allegedly incited a riot, right? Like, because at no point was he like, you should probably stop doing what you're doing. Some people will argue, like, why do these people have an obligation to tell people to stop? But like, I do think when you have a platform of that size, you have an obligation to like control your people. You are in control of them to make them do what allegedly you want them to do.
I think again, because this is a public podcast that has a ton of viewers, we do have to say that he did tweet a few times to not to like keep the peace for the peaceful party and all that. So he did try, but I think the people that, I mean, that should be a whole other episode of like what actually happened that day. There's so many like fishy things, but I agree with you that if you have a public forum, or I guess you have that level of influence, then yeah, of course you should of course keep everything on tracks. And I think you would mention like, are you obligated to hear the other side out? I think like you're almost always obligated to hear the other side out. Right. Like Americans should always listen to Russians and vice versa, or the Chinese and Americans, or just people you don't agree with. You should always at least hear their side. I mean, look, I'm not saying you should like agree with cannibals, but like,
He's drawing a line, guys.
Yeah, they got to draw a line of like eating other people.
You have to draw a line somewhere.
Imagine.
I do.
Would you visit
like,
a cannibal in jail? That's the most important question.
If your wife,
how bored am I to actually go out of my way to do that?
If your spouse was a cannibal and had eaten anyone, would you go visit her in jail?
If my spouse was a cannibal and she ate somebody, would I visit her in jail? No, I'd probably write her. Well, I probably would want to answer. Is be like, oh, why'd you eat somebody?
So
always need more information.
So if it's good reason, this is all coming back. You see, you really didn't miss much. You're fine.
Why'd you eat somebody? Like, and then I'd probably be
wait,
like,
who was it?
I was
Did they deserve
hungry.
it?
Yeah.
Did they
What did it
deserve
taste
to be
like?
eaten?
Yeah.
What
I guess some
things
answers
deserve
first.
to be eaten?
Some people need eaten. You know what I mean? Some people are just kind of causing
I'd
a
love
ruckus.
to know that the
Were you
one
stuck in-
answer that she could give you that you were like justified.
You were
Probably
stuck in the
not,
mountains.
yeah,
and
like-
he-
What if the person was trying to eat her? Is it then allowed?
Is it like eat or be eaten?
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah,
right.
I'd say yeah.
This
Yeah.
has to be a plane crash somewhere in the mountains, and you need to eat someone to survive.
Oh my
Donner
god,
party
dude.
lifestyle. Yeah, exactly. Like,
I remember one time. So you saw the rugby team in like Argentina.
what
They had
is?
to do that.
Do I want to know about you eating a human being? Is this where this is going?
No, well, did you know like this? Did you see
So
the
this one
movie?
time I was in
Like, know the
Argentina.
story about Argentina? Yeah, there was a rugby team that crashed and they had to like commit cannibalism to survive. And I remember it was the winter, right? Or they're like in the Andes or whatever, and it was like snow capped and all that. And I remember we were going over the Rockies one time, and it seemed like every other flight was getting like diverted or whatever, except us. We went straight through it, and I was in the last row, so you feel everything. And it felt like the plane dropped for like it felt like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, but it was probably like 2 seconds. Everyone's fucking screaming. The flight attendant was screaming, and I was like, if she's screaming, we're dead. But in my head, I'm like, because it was the winter too, I'm like, this is gonna be like that rugby team that we all have to eat each other to survive.
You were prepping.
Could you do
You were
that
grabbing
in
salt and
Argentina?
pepper.
That is what you went to.
Yeah, but yeah, real quick. The first one was like, I really want to see my dog, and then the second one was, I might start eating some people on this plane.
Within 2 seconds, his
You didn't-
brain instantly went to eating
He's
people.
he's like got his fork and knife from his
Yeah.
his on-flight meal. He's like, I'm ready.
Exactly. I just imagine us going right to the
man.
side of the Rockies, like during the winter, and being like, okay, how the hell are we going to survive this one if we survive a crash landing? And it's got to be
All
like
right.
that Argentinian team.
You don't think you'd find some sort of animal up there before a human?
I feel like people are easier to catch than like an elk. You know what I mean?
There's gonna be
All
some
right.
dead ones there anyways
I'm
after
sure-
the crash.
I could probably,
Yeah,
if
so
there's,
you
if
won't
there's
have to
200
kill
people on
them,
that
you
plane,
just
I
have to
could,
eat
I
'em,
could
that's
run
fair.
down 100 of those
That's the
people on
line. As long as they're already dead, you can eat them.
plane.
So wait, if that's your significant other's answer was, well, they were already dead, then you're cool with it? Like,
Yeah, it was a matter of life and death. No, I don't know. I guess I was trying to think of like an obscene like side that you probably wouldn't want to speak to, but I think like I mean now more than ever, people need to hear the other side, right? And not even just politics, just the world in general. To me, just seems a little off the rocker. But to answer your question, like I think you always have an obligation to a certain extent. Obviously, if it's asinine, I don't think politics are really asinine to a point. I mean, cannibalism, stuff like that, that's crazy. Disagreeing on politics, whether you think the sky is falling or like the other person's evil or not, I think that's not nearly as crazy as like I don't know, cannibalism or something I'm saying. I think you should hear the other side out. And if you think they're fucking crazy after 5 minutes, then disengage. But if you don't hear the other side out, then I would say 9 out of 10 topics, you probably are going to find some things you'll agree on. At least some things you'll agree on. There's probably that one topic you won't. If
Do
you,
you, just
Yeah.
based on that opinion that you just gave, I have to ask this question. Do you feel you judge people?
well, yeah, I think everyone does. I think we're hardwired to make judgments pretty quickly.
Thank you. I always say, I'm definitely going to judge you, but I'm just not going to hold it against you. Like,
You
I think
assess the
like when you
situation.
see, yeah, like when you
Yeah.
see somebody, like if you're walking down the street and you're dressed like a lunatic, like I'm 100% are going to be like, that girl owns no mirrors, has no friends, or just doesn't give a shit. But like, it's not going to change how I interact with them
This is
until
hilarious.
they give me a reason to change how I interact with them again, like it goes to try to eat me or something. Like I'm still,
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not
you
going to
know,
hold it against you.
Right.
the other day I was talking to somebody because when I left New York City and I was going to Colorado, somebody was like, "Oh, be careful, that's Trump country," and they were in New York City, and like New York is like supposed to be like the most progressive, accepting city in the world, right? I would say Colorado, like if you break down on the side of the road in Colorado, people will like stop and help you. Like it's much more communal out there in Trump country than in New York City, which if you disagree with somebody politically, they literally like make it seem like, you're the devil. So I would say that just goes to show like somebody who thinks they're so progressive and accepting, saying that they have no idea what's going on in Trump country. And when I lived in Colorado, people were great. They were so much more kind than New York. And New York's home. I mean, I could always I have the right to say that about like the tri-state. People are fucking assholes. They're huge assholes.
For sure.
They're not that accepting. They're only accepting if you agree with them. So, but if they had that conversation, like if you went out there, he might be like, "Hey, it's not so bad." Like that guy that maybe I don't agree with politically, like he helped me change a tire.
I think that's the big issue though, is that like now everyone is assessing the climate of an area based on their political view, and that's not it at
Yeah,
all.
that's just stupid,
Like
isn't it?
that's the wrong, like that shouldn't be how you assess an area, is based on what their political party is. Like that's how it goes back to judging versus acting, right? Like, okay, cool, you see all the Trump flags or you whatever, but like who you are and who you vote for, your identity is not your political party. You yourself, us as John Q. Plummer of the United States of America, we are not politicians. We do not need to staple a political party to our name as politicians do. So like, why should people be, I get it, again, after 5 minutes of conversation with someone, they are, the predisposed stereotypes of either political party, then yes, you can attach them to that. But just basing a geolocation off of a political party it's stupid. Yeah, that's where it's wrong.
That goes back to the cult thing, though, right? I mean, I think it gets culty at that point. It all comes kind of like full circle.
Everything comes back to cults. That's what we've found out on this episode so far.
100%.
So I think that's a good place to go. Let's go ahead and finish up with our lightning round.
Lightning round.
So Maggie, here's how the lightning round works. We each have a couple questions that we're going to ask you. Rich already doesn't know his.
He's trying to pull his up now.
I am, yeah.
So what your thought is here, we're going to ask the question, you're going to answer it. No thinking, no explanation. We can dive into them. There's only 6 total. We each only ask 2. So we do question, and then if you want to kind of explain or give a rationale for them after we've asked all 6, be my guest. I think I hit it, right, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right, Tyler, why don't you go ahead and go first?
All right, name 3 things on your bucket list.
See an active volcano. Feel accomplished at the end of my life. And I know, weird, right? And just be happy. I know that sounds simple, but that's all I want.
Those are good ones.
They're good. Rich, go ahead.
He's still looking.
I can't find it. If you could have, Seth, are you the dinner one or am I the dinner one?
Oh my God, I am the dinner. Just ask it. Just ask
it. You can take one of mine. So if you could have dinner with any person, alive or dead, who would that be? Platonic.
I want to go to tea time
dinner.
with platonic dinner. I want to go to tea time with Warren Buffett and Bill Gates.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Very interesting. All right, one of mine we basically touched on in the episode, so I'm not going to do it. So I'll do a separate one tonight since I know you so well. If you could have one beverage for the rest of your life, be it an adult beverage, a kid beverage, anything like that, you've got as much of it as you want. You can have it whenever you want. No one's going to judge you. What would it be?
Coffee.
Really?
That's fair.
I mean, a lot of people probably would say that.
My next one. What is the best book you have ever read or I guess listened to?
These are really hard, guys.
Yeah.
Or one that you read recently or listened to recently.
I just finished. Oh, that one's kind of lame though. Don't judge me on this one, guys, but
just assessing, not judging.
It's called The Natural Mind by and I think that's what it's called. Dr. Andrew Weil. Yeah. It's about I'll get to that if you want afterwards.
Okay.
It's called The Natural Mind.
Roger.
Rich, your second question.
Okay, second question is, where the fuck is this list of questions?
Oh my God.
Same place
Rich,
you located your calendar.
Bicycle. That's all I'm going to say for your second one. Bicycle.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Seth. Thank you.
Same place you located your calendar.
We're just gonna have to drop them into the chat next time. What is a song that when you hear it, it brings you back to a specific time and place, and where is that place?
David Guetta's "Sexy Bitch," and it's in college, my sorority house.
Ooh,
That's hilarious. Okay, that's a good one.
I'll
Oh
have to play
man.
that.
All right. Last one. We don't have to talk about actual time travel because I know it sends you down a rabbit hole, but you can time travel forward or backward to any space and time you want, any place, any time period. Where are you going?
Haight Ashbury.
That's
Hey,
fair.
isn't that my question?
That was so fast. What did you say?
Isn't that my question?
You
Maggie,
already
what
What did
did you
I
say?
say?
What did you say?
What did I say?
Yes.
I said it would be, I guess, 1967, 1968, Haight Ashbury in San Francisco.
Summer of
Hey,
Love.
Dashberry?
Haight Ashbury.
So
that?
it's a neighborhood in San Francisco.
Mhm.
The Grateful Dead lived there, and it was just well, my husband and I went there on the tail end of our honeymoon. Obviously, it wasn't 1967 or 1968, but it looked great for my age, right?
25 plus 25, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I've been
But
here.
it was just like the mecca for hippies in America in the summer of love. So all of those jam bands, like the Janis Joplins would play out there, the Dead before they were the Dead, the Warlocks, but just like peace, love, and before the heroin and Helter Skelter.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Actually, now that you say, I guess I've been there. So, do you think, because what you're saying reminds me of this, do you think Jenny in Forrest Gump was a good person or a bad person?
Okay, first of all,
Based on your
Yes.
little hippies, I want to be a
Yes.
hippie. What do you think?
Great question. Great
Forrest
question.
Gump is the greatest love story of all time.
Not a love story.
It
Continue.
is a love story.
No, it's a story of abuse. But, well, go
No,
on. What do you
no,
think? What do you
it's
think
a
of
love
Jenny?
No matter what Jenny did, Forrest loved her for who she was, regardless of how she treated him. I think on a humanistic level, Jenny had some shit to figure out, and she needed to go do her and figure that out. And
Did that give her the right to
unfortunately,
treat a great human being like Forrest Gump the way that she did?
I don't think that she. Here's what I'll say. I guess from like a psychological perspective, I think sometimes when you don't think that highly of yourself, you don't necessarily treat others. I think you sometimes treat others the way you feel you deserve to be treated. And I don't think that she had love for herself. And until she learned what love was, I don't think she could love Forrest the way that Forrest loved her. But in the end, she'd
Yeah.
had her son. She learned what love is and what that's
Yeah.
supposed to look like and feel like. And that's when she went back and lived her time with Forrest.
Yeah,
Until then, she was fighting herself.
after he won the Medal of Honor and was a multimillionaire because of the Apple investment, yeah, she came
Okay,
back
but
around and
stop. Here's what I'm also going to say about that is that you're acting like it was so easy. Like she could just send a iMessage to Forrest and be like, "Sup, man? Where are you?" Like you couldn't do that back
He
then.
lived
Like
in
they
his
lost
mama's
touch.
house. He never changed. He lived in his mama's house
But
the whole
Jenny
time.
did. Like she
beautiful
had to
house,
go
though.
and chase her dreams and be her and do her. And when she's all the way across the other side of the country, there's no internet. There's landlines for sure, but half the time she was on drugs. How's she gonna get a hold of a landline? Come on, guys, be real.
I'm just saying,
I
I don't think
think
it's a love
it happened when it
story.
was supposed to happen.
Jenny
Greatest
sucks.
love story of all time.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a
like
love
Jenny at all.
story.
Greatest love of all time.
I think it's a
I changed
one-way
my
love
mind. That's
story.
my favorite book I read too.
I didn't even know there was a book. I thought it was just a
Oh,
movie.
it's so good. So good.
What is the name of that book that you did say was your favorite book? And
Oh, I
what
got
was
it.
that about?
I think it's called A Natural Mind. So it's about
By Andrew Whale or something. Whale.
Yeah, yep. So he has a couple. The first book of his I ever read was called From Chocolate to Morphine. And aside from cults, I also have a very huge fascination with drugs and like just how they interact in the body and drug addicts and how they interact in their psychological things and whatnot. So anyways, I was in high school. I read this book. It's like a comprehensive book of all the different kinds of drugs, everything from chocolate to morphine, right? So then that kind of opened my eyes to him. He he has this other book called The Natural Mind, and it's about how we as humans like have this desire to alter our mind space, whether that be it by getting high by doing like some sort of drug, or like running, or when kids like spin around in a circle, like that's just they're altering their mind space. And how we enter any sort of interaction can all be brought back to like set and setting. So like he has this concept that like if you are going to take some sort of psychoactive drug, you should do it in a proper set and setting, like who's around you, what kind of place is it, where should it go. So it just, again, it was just like an eye-opening, like I like to stretch my mind. I also really like to go to like old book sales and get like medical books from the 70s and be like, holy shit, that's what we thought would work back then. Kind of laughable, you know.
If we drill up this guy's nose with a hammer and a spike,
No guidance, just
better.
He's not gonna get better. What?
Yeah.
But at that time, like it worked for the time being. So
yeah, and you know, it's
sometimes I get like, think about what's going to happen in 50 years, and you look back and you're going to be like, oh shit, we all bought into that, and that was supposed to fix us all, and it did not. It was actually really bad for us.
Tyler, say what you want to say.
I'm not gonna say what I want to say.
Tyler, did you have something on your mind?
You and I both thought the same thing right away. Right away.
Allegedly.
Oh, man. Allegedly.
Got brulepathy.
All right. Well, this has been
So the lightning round's over?
Yeah, unless anybody has anything else question wise, any more input on anything.
I've listened to Sexy Bitch the last 5 minutes, so
That's a great song.
So funny.
It's a great song. If we were
For the
putting this
time
up
of
on,
fist pumping and like
I was holding back this whole time.
no wonder I looked at Tyler and he just kind of was sitting there bouncing a little bit. I was like, now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. So Maggie, thanks for being on.
having me, guys.
This episode will air in I don't know when. I don't know how many episodes
2
ahead
weeks.
of time we are. 2 weeks. It'll be on our YouTube. It'll be on our iTunes podcasts. Just for Apple users only.
The Cult of Apple.
The Cult of Apple. Is there anything else you have? Any parting words? Any wisdoms that you have left?
Just that it is 100% okay to ask questions. Don't let anybody tell you that you ask too many questions ever.
Why?
Because that's how you learn
Why?
and grow.
Why?
I love that. I could sit with a child for hours and just be like, why?
I
love
can't
it. It's my
wait.
favorite
I
thing.
can't wait to send you your nephew in 4 and 5 years and just be
Oh,
like,
I'm
you
so
still like
excited.
that? You still like that?
100%.
Have you watched the Louis C.K. stand-up about the kid asking him questions nonstop? Oh, I'm gonna drop it in the chat.
All right. Well, and then we spiraled after the last words. Maggie, thank you again. We will have you
Thanks,
on again.
guys.
Don't worry. There's always stuff to talk about. We haven't even glossed over Andrew Cuomo's nipple rings. So that's a
Ooh.
whole discussion for another time.
It came up again last night.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Three RoOs podcast.